Floyd Mayweather may fight arguably one of the greatest UFC fighters in the history of the franchise, Conor McGregor. And everyone's talking about a boxer, a classic boxer versus UFC fighter. Would they fight in the octagon? Would they fight in the ring? Do you think that's going to happen?
I do. I do think it's going to. I think it's going to be a tough deal. There's obviously a lot of egos involved in this deal, and a lot of people. So that always makes it tougher. But on the flip side, there's so much money involved. I just don't see how it doesn't happen. And you know, everybody always asks, and it would be boxing. It wouldn't be.
See, that's the thing. Is the rules would be strictly boxing. Conor can't use any of the. I mean, UFC obviously. Right. You can use all of your body. It would be a boxing match. No kicking, no elbows,
no, just straight up boxing in a boxing ring with gloves and the whole deal. And you know, a lot of things make this fight intriguing, but the reality is this: anybody who's ever seen Floyd Mayweather, you've seen him, right?
Yeah.
He's this big, okay? He's that tall. And
that's not really true.
Yeah, that's exactly how tall.
That's really no.
Here?
That's the size of a small refrigerator you're describing. But anyway, yes.
Conor McGregor is huge, and you know. He's 27 years old. He's in the prime of his career. Floyd is 40. Floyd always had problems with southpaws. Conor is a southpaw, and Conor hits hard. When he hits people, they go. Floyd's definitely not knocking him out. That's for sure. So I'm not saying that Conor would win this boxing match, but it sure makes it interesting.
One of the reasons I would want to tune in is to see Floyd Mayweather kick. Don't you think Floyd should be kicking in this? Or why not just open it up and they both have pool noodles? I mean, why not just go nuts with this and really add everything you can think of?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if this was a mixed martial arts fight, it wouldn't last 30 seconds. I mean, Conor would destroy him.
No, I could have a kind of a running feud with Tito Ortiz. I think we have a picture of him here. I don't know what his beef is with you. Not happy with you. Maybe just not happy that he doesn't have pants. Have you guys you guys have had a running feud for a long time. Have you ever fought that guy?
No, we were gonna fight one time in a boxing match, but I actually never told this story publicly before. But we were on a private plane on our way to Japan, and it was my partners, the Fertitta brothers, myself, Tito Ortiz, and our matchmaker at the time, Joe Silva. And Tito and I were messing around, and he put me in what's called a neck crank, and I was tapping, and he didn't stop.
So tapping means you gotta let go.
Yeah. And you can seriously hurt somebody in a neck crank, especially as big and strong as Tito is. So I just started blasting him in the ribs, started punching him in the ribs. And when he let go, just jumped up, and it was a full-blown fist fight in the plane. And we were literally taking off. And the plane was going like this, and the Fertitta brothers had to jump in and break up the fight. So then I sat on the front of the plane, he sat in the back of the plane the rest of the flight.
You're like kids that misbehave.
No, it's true. Exactly.
We're separating you two.
Exactly. That's
you had a full-on fight on a private plane during takeoff.
Yes.
Like when Ronda Rousey came back, and when she fought Amanda Nunes, and all the lead up was all about Ronda Rousey. Yeah. And it was also about her getting back to being the best in the world. Mm-hmm. And I was watching all that, and it was like, I'm going to be world champion because fighting is the most important thing. And I was watching, I was like, wow, this all on paper. I mean, I'm keeping my mind open. I'm excited to see that she's in great shape. She's coming back fully motivated. Not excited that she hasn't made any changes to her camp, but well, let's see what happens. She's got amazing judo, and she was a world beater for a real reason, but all the red flags are there.
Yeah.
And all the wrong
nothing
ideas.
about Nunes, right? Nothing about the actual world champion who...
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's like, and I freaking adore Ronda Rousey. I mean, it's my teammate. Like, Holly is the one who Holly dethroned her. But I adore Ronda and what she's done and the things that she's done and that mentality. That's a Diego Sanchez mentality. Here I go.
But it's not in the way that she got used to a very specific thing happening when she fought. Was her dominating. And when that didn't happen, in that one fight, look, she tried her best against Holly, but Holly fought the perfect fight, and Ronda fought the wrong fight.
Right.
Absolutely wrong. The wrong way to fight Holly. Charge at her.
Yeah, with the hook. Yeah. And Holly was so ready for that fight. She was ready for that fight for years. Like, I could see that. I could see in her training.
I mean, she fought perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally a flawless performance by Holly. Yeah. So she loses that fight. She gets devastated and chalks it off to lack of training, chalks it off to distractions. So this time she's going to do no media. She's going to do no interviews, no nothing. Just go in there and just be bulldog about it. But when you see like the discussions about this fight, and you see people, that were behind the scenes, they were all convinced that she was going to steamroll Amanda Nunes. There was so many people back there. I was like, you guys are out of your fucking mind. I was saying before the Holly fight that Amanda was probably the most dangerous fight for her because Amanda's really fucking good on the ground. And her stand-up is vicious. Like, she's got brutal knockout power.
Yeah.
And she's long. Like, she throws these long-ass punches, and she catches you on the end of these punches. I'm like, that's a nightmare for Ronda, because Ronda likes to stand up and brawl, to close the distance. And then even if you close the distance with Amanda Nunes, it's no picnic.
No, and Amanda's got actually a very good clinch and a very good awareness of where her body goes, and her center of gravity seems to be. You're right. She's so long. It seems to be a little bit lower than I think it would be very hard to launch her on her head. Although Zingano did very well with belly to belly suplex. That's what that was, right?
Well,
I got to remember that.
There's another woman who's fucking ferocious as hell. Kat Zingano.
Yeah. So much intensity. I remember, I first met her in Colorado. We were on the same fight show. It was when I filmed Tap Out, and I tried to go say hi to her because, another female fighter. We weren't fighting each other, and she just totally... And I was like, oh, what a bitch. And then I got to know her better, and I was just like, she is an amazing person.
She's just intense.
She is. She had a fight coming up. She didn't want to talk to anybody. She didn't want to have, she didn't know who I was, I didn't know who she was, and we weren't going to talk. And then I just got to absolutely adore her. But, back to Ronda and all of that, I feel like it's interesting, the Diego Sanchez, like, kind of the mentality, the bite down in the third round. I think you have something there where you push when it's against you.
Yeah.
And I wonder that something, that knockout interrupted her, or when Holly got her, it interrupted her forward progression, and then pulling back away from the media and stuff. I almost wonder if that in itself was kind of a denial of that interruption, and maybe trying to create a space for herself. I don't know. I'm so obsessed with this idea of creating our own spaces and what we're doing in our own lives, because everybody's so different.
It's very
and
important.
Individual. Yeah, and what she was trying to I guess plot out the way to this fight and to way to this victory against Amanda Nunes, and not being distracted and not doing press and stuff like that. And I almost think if she had done the press, and this is just a theory, I don't know her that well. I think she's a lovely person, but if she had done the press, if she'd exposed herself to all of that again, if she would have had more of a triumphant attitude, because she would have known, when you know what it's like to lose, and you know that you can still get up the next day and be okay, and face the people who you said a million things to, a million confident things to, and you're wrong, or you were wrong for a night, and understand that you can actually still get them to see your side. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. I see what you're saying. I see where you're going with it. I don't know. I think there's a bunch of problems technically with how she was preparing. I think her work with Edmund made her look really good on the mitts. But there's a big difference between looking good on the mitts and having a bunch of different options tactically when you're in a fight. And I think a lot of that comes with just long sessions in the gym, a lot of experience, and years of sparring and fighting. But she was just go forward, attack, go forward, attack. And when she started getting hit, she didn't have any answers. She was like throwing up this sort of push away front kick and moving away against Amanda, and she was kind of done from like the first couple of punches landing. And I think that if you look at real seasoned strikers, like a good example would be, boy, there's a lot of good examples, but Joanna Jędrzejczyk in her last fight against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Okay, that is two very seasoned strikers.
Yes.
There was a lot of feints. There was a lot of different angles. There was a lot of different approaches. It was try one way, that doesn't work. Let's go over here. That doesn't work. Let's go over here. Now I got something. Let's try that again. Went to the well too many times. Try back to this again. It was a communication. There was a conversation going on. What you're seeing a lot of fighters is they're shouting out one or two words, but they're not articulate, meaning their approach is very... If you see someone and they just keep going to the big right hand over the top, big right hand over the top, it's like you're just banking on this one thing, and someone is going to be able to figure out that approach, and it might not be the person that's right in front of you, but someone who's really good is going to find their way through that, and they're going to be able to talk circles around you. I talk all the time about... When I watch fighting, I try to break it down objectively. I'm saying what it mirrors in a lot of ways is communication. and that really truly articulate people that have a long, just a long history of using a deep vocabulary are way better off with a nuanced conversation than someone who is just, they might be able to say, get off my lawn. You know, they might be able to yell out one phrase, but how can they adapt to someone who's passive? How can they adapt to someone who tricks them? How can they adapt to someone who paints them into a corner? Like, can you figure your way out of a trap? Do you understand a trap? And when you see it in fighting, you see people getting set up and you see things happening. Like Anderson. Like Anderson Silva was a master at setting people up and a master of that, like figuring out the language of what you do. What do you do? Like, what's your thing? Like, what you could see him when he was moving with guys. He would stand southpaw, he would switch up, he'd move around, he would give you a little of this, and he'd just try to, and then eventually he'd figure out your rhythm and then start dropping shit on you. And when he did, it was masterful to watch, because here's a guy that had figured out